Time now for another vlog. And I do apologize for it being a month since the last episode. I've done quite a few vlogs, as some of you may know, on the vlogs channel. And every time I do a vlog, that's one less vlog idea I have. And it becomes a little more difficult to come up with new vlog ideas. But if you have a vlog suggestion that I've yet to do, be sure and check the vlogs playlist on the vlogs channel first. And once you do that, then feel free and send me your ideas, your suggestions, your thoughts for what would be a cool vlog down the road below in the comment section via Twitter, Facebook, or Discord. By the way, thank you so much to all, well, we got 240 subscribers. I just checked a moment ago. So thank you everybody that subscribed to the vlogs channel. Once again, I do apologize for the fact that I don't do as many vlogs. I should do more, but if you want to help me with that, the more ideas, the better. I mean, usually I ideally try to put out a new vlog every 2 or 3 weeks. That was my original plan. Now it's become more like 3 or 4 weeks. But if there is a vlog suggestion you happen to have, and it's kind of a taboo subject, and you don't want to receive credit for it, you just want to be anonymous, you can always send it to me privately via DM, Twitter, Facebook, as well as Discord. Just let me know that you wish to be anonymous, that you don't want credit for it for whatever rhyme or reason. I completely understand. We've had a few anonymous vlog suggestions before, and it's perfectly fine. Some of you may notice something a little different about the where we are vlogging today, out in the West in Red Dead Online, another game I happen to play over on the other channel. And the vlog idea I had felt more fitting as this for the backdrop than Grand Theft Auto Online. Plus, you know, sometimes a change of scenery is not a bad thing when it comes to vlogging. Sometimes you just want to get out of your car and hop on a nice horse and then just gallop around out in nature. So yes, nature is the theme of today's vlog because I am a huge nature fan. I don't get to go out to nature as much as I would like, but technically nature is all around us. It doesn't matter if you live in a small town or a big city. I mean, we are part of nature. We're part of this environment. All of it is basically our planet, our world. But nature consists of a lot of different environments, a lot of different settings, including woods, as well as hills, valleys, beaches. I love beaches. Plateaus, deserts, mountains. I also like mountains. Ponds, bayous, streams, lakes, rivers, oceans. All of it consists of nature, which can be beautiful and sometimes scary. Well, I don't know. I think the scariest creature that roams in nature is probably not the wolves, or the lions, tigers, and bears, cougars, sharks, or the scorpions, spiders, wasps, ants, mosquitoes, but man, humans. I think we're probably the scariest of all the animals on the planet, even though some of those animals can be a bit ferocious and dangerous, and if you cross their path, life-threatening. But at the end of the day, I think that humanity is probably the most dangerous of animals. But we're still part of nature, for better or worse. Now, not all humans are bad. This is not going to be an anti-human vlog. But at the same time, this is our planet. This is our home. This is our world. And I think that we should do a better job of taking care of it and protecting it as well as preserving it. Because at the moment, it's the only planet we have. It's not like Mars is habitable. I know I joke about being from Mars, and some days I wish I was. Some days I feel like I am. But at the same time, in all seriousness, Earth is our world. It's the only one in our solar system, as far as we know, capable of bearing life, that has oxygen, close enough to the sun for warmth, fresh water, plant and animal life, in order to allow us to live, and all the other animals that we share this world with to live as well. So nature is about more than just us, because if you go by science, and I'm not saying that science is right, A lot of times science is about theories. Like this theory is a fact until the next theory comes along and debunks that theory, and so on and so on. We're still learning. We still have a long ways to go. We're not all knowing, even though sometimes we like to act like we are, but we're not. But when it comes to nature itself, we are but one species of many on this world, and there's so many others that have come before us. Like, for example, the dinosaurs, and even during the Ice Age, or before the Ice Age, we had animals such as saber-toothed tigers, dire wolves, woolly mammoths, even Neanderthals, which were kind of like a... Some say that the Neanderthals were like a rival to our own species, that we either wiped them out or else we ended up breeding with them, and maybe, just maybe, we're all Neanderthals, and the Neanderthals technically survived because they're in us DNA-wise. So that too is a very real possibility. But unfortunately, the further along we get with humans going from the plains of Africa or the caves or wherever we came from, depending on what you happen to believe, we came from somewhere, obviously. Maybe aliens are a thing. I don't know. But we had a beginning just like any other species, and we started off as ape-like, and eventually we evolved, and down the road we adapted, we survived, we endured, and we became Homo sapiens. Well, our ancestors did. And then, the earliest, tribes and societies and ancient empires were forged. But as we went further along, we started changing the nature around us. Because we went from living in caves or up in trees to, building huts and towns and cities, empires. And because of that, we started having an effect on nature itself. Some would say for the worst, but it is what it is. And along the way, there have been lots of victims when it comes to the human civilization. When it's come to us growing and expanding and moving up the food chain to, at the moment, you could say we're at the top of the food chain. That may not always be the case, but as of right now, if it wasn't for our technology, if it wasn't for our invention, then it would be a lot more even playing field, because you're not going to be able to go and take on a grizzly bear or a mountain lion or a pack of wolves with just a stick or some rocks. So in a lot of cases, they still have an advantage over us. But at the same time, we have evolved in a different way than other species on this planet. But a lot of other species have paid the price for the fact that we exist. And a lot of it could be because as a species early on, we didn't know any better. We just thought it was okay to hunt and kill at our leisure, and not even considering the consequences early on that some of the species that we were unintentionally hunting to extinction. And who knows how many animals ancient human civilization wiped out. And most recently, we can talk about a few species like the dodo, for example, the Tasmanian tiger, a few others as well that are currently endangered. And I know we're doing a better job of it nowadays because we're more mindful about the fact that we have a negative effect on our environment, on nature, and on the fellow species that inhabit this world with us. And we're trying to preserve, we're trying to conserve, we're trying to save them from extinction. And unfortunately, there's those out there that don't really care. And I myself am an omnivore. I eat meat, like beef and chicken and venison, and also eat fish. So I'm not a vegan, I'm not a vegetarian, and if that's your life choice, then I respect it. That's perfectly fine. But as a species, and even scientifically, we are omnivores. And I was raised to hunt and fish, and that's probably one of the reasons why this game appeals to me, not just because of the Western setting of Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online, but also because you can hunt and fish in this game. And that's something that my grandfather and my father both taught me to do. So it's kind of wired into me in it. And I guess humans, in a way, we are kind of a predator species. And that's just something we've had to do in order to survive. We had to learn to hunt. We had to learn to fish. I mean, we're also gatherers. Because we're omnivores, we learned to gather plants. We learned which berries and fruits were good, which ones were bad for us. You know, a lot of it's a learning experience along the way. But I like to consider the possibility that there are times when it's okay to hunt, and then there are times when I believe it's not okay. And as a hunter, I do classify myself as well, kind of like a hunter for food, a hunter for survival. And for food, obviously, if I'm out there living in the woods or the Great Plains or somewhere, and I'm away from civilization and I need food, or it happens to be deer or turkey season, then I'll go hunting. And it's been a long time since I've gone hunting or fishing, by the way. Fortunately, because of the modern society, a lot of us don't have to hunt or fish. We just have to go to the store or the nearest restaurant or fast food joint in order to get our food. But there's still people out there that like to go hunting and fishing because of that simple fact. It ties them back to those natural instincts of humanity before it became so civilized, and some people would say soft. But at the same time, essentially, you know, people for the most part are omnivores, with a few exceptions. And those of us that are omnivores need meat in order to survive. We need fish in order to survive, along with everything else, like fresh water, oxygen, sunlight, the essentials of living. On the other hand, unfortunately, along with hunters that hunt simply for food or survival, are like the Native American tribes back in the Wild West who would hunt the buffalo and depended on the buffalo for survival, not just for their food, but they also depended on the very, you know, bodies of the buffalo, like for parts that they used, like the hides they would use for their teepees, for clothing. They made a lot of tools and other things out of the buffalo which they hunted. And unfortunately, during Manifest Destiny, during the push west, for, you know, everybody that was out there trying to go to west to, you know, get that gold in them their heels or silver or start anew, unfortunately, we almost wiped out the buffalo in the process. Well, not you and me, those that have come before us, because they didn't know any better, because, I don't know, all intents and purposes, they were stupid. But, well, in that regard, not realizing that they had almost, you know, completely wiped out, you know, a species of buffalo, which had at one time millions upon millions. I mean, it has had a comeback over the past few decades, but still, I think it is a endangered species. Maybe not completely endangered, but concerning. But it also had obviously a negative effect on the Native American population. And I would recommend a really good documentary that's currently on Netflix. It's all the way back from the 90s. By documentarian Ken Burns, no relation as far as I know. And it was about the West. That's the name of the documentary miniseries, The West. And it's pretty good. So if you're into history and you want to learn more about what happened throughout the West, even before America came along, I would highly recommend it. But unfortunately with technology, I mean, we went from simply hunting animals with bows and arrows and slingshots, spears and traps, to guns and other ways of taking out animals. So, yeah, well, I obviously don't have a problem with hunters, per se, that hunt for survival or food, or if you happen to have a dangerous predator out in the middle of nowhere, right? And you have to, it's like you or them, and you're trying to protect yourself, you're trying to protect your family, you just happen to live out there. Then there are circumstances where you have no choice but to kill in order, you know, to preserve your own life and self-defense. However, there's also the issue of trophy hunting and poachers. And I don't really care for trophy hunters or poachers, especially, well, some would make the argument that some trophy hunters are actually doing good in their own way by going out to Africa, and one of the dangers of playing Red Dead Online is predators coming after you. Yep, just like in real life, when you go out in the woods, there are things out in the woods that might try to make a meal out of you. Fight or flight, right? But with the trophy hunters, like I've looked at both sides of the argument, because I always try to do that in order to get a better understanding when it comes to everything. Is that apparently when they go out to hunt a lion or a giraffe or something else, that it actually helps the local tribe or the local town that hosts these hunts in Africa. But at the same time, you also have to look at it from the other point of view. Well, why are you spending like hundreds of thousands of dollars to go across the world and hunt an animal that did nothing to you, when we've already, put those animals into a critical category because they've been hunted so much? So there's definitely two trains of thought when it comes to those issues. And as a hunter, I know that it's important for us to hunt for food. And there have been definitely studies that if we were all of a sudden stop hunting deer, for example, or turkey, then those populations would explode, and that would cause serious problems. So hunting does some good for the environment, and have to have some form of predators out there, whether it's bears, tigers, wolves, lions, humans even to some degree. But when it comes to trophy hunting, I just don't approve of it, because for the most part, you're just going out and hunting something because you can kill it. And you're out there to put something on your wall, like the head of a lion, or its pelts, or for a carpet. So I don't really care for that too much. I feel like that when it comes to trophy hunting, I just don't like it. But what's probably worse is the poachers out there going after elephants and rhinos, other animals, for their ivory. And I'm not one to completely demonize poachers, because I'm sure most of them do it because they're in desperate situations and they didn't set out to be a poacher. It's just that maybe they come from a difficult life, a difficult background, and unfortunately one thing leads to the other and they end up becoming poachers. But it still doesn't mean what they're doing is right. And I hate the fact that we have poachers out there, especially now where we understand that we are having an effect negatively on the environment, on nature, on wildlife, and how there's only so many elephants left and only so many rhinos left and other animals. Like, there's definitely animals like deer, like turkey, that have a pretty decent population. They're nowhere near endangered. But there are also other animals out there that are critical, that could end up being wiped out. And we should be a lot more responsible as the stewards of this planet to making sure that those animals survive, that we learn from our mistakes, that enough animals have gone extinct because of us, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. And it's not just that, it's about doing what we can to make sure that we take care of our world. And I'm not going to get into the climate change, global warming debate, but I will talk about the reality, the facts that we cannot ignore. We cannot ignore the fact that there are islands and islands of floating garbage out in the Pacific Ocean and other places. We can't ignore that. We can't ignore that they're piling landfills and littering, and that's causing negative ramifications on our world. Killing sea life, killing bird life, killing animal life, and harming us. So I do think that we should focus on trying to do something about it by cleaning up our oceans and countering deforestation. Like, I know this stuff is happening, but I would like to believe that one day maybe we'll get to the point where it happens at a larger scale, where we're doing a better job of getting out there and cleaning the ocean. And I know that's a difficult feat to accomplish because there's so much garbage floating out there. But we need to do it because this is our planet. We need to take much better care of it. And the same thing goes for the forests that we have deforested. And we should be endeavoring to regrow those forests, to put new plants out there and new trees, and try to heal the damage that we've done. Protecting and preserving our world, endangered species. And we've been trying to do that to some degree with like national parks and safaris throughout the world. So it's always a struggle because in some ways we have become masters of this planet, but in other ways we're not really. We only have so much control, but we can do a better job of taking care of wildlife, of nature, and learning to do better with recycling and clean energy, and trying to clean up our world in order for it to... I mean, I think that, worst case scenario, I think the planet will survive. Because there's been so many other species that have come and gone. We've proven that with science and paleontologists. From dinosaurs to animals and species that predated dinosaurs. So, if we go extinct one day, more animals will rise up, and the cockroaches will inherit the earth, probably. Well, other species will inherit the earth if we don't take better care of it. Eventually, the earth will heal itself, whether we're helping it or not. And I'd rather us try our best to help and take care of our world, because it's the only planet we have. And I don't know about you, but I think that Earth has been pretty good to us over the past several billion years, even before we came along. And the past, say, million years that we've been here, or 6,000 years, or whatever you believe, to each their own in that regard. Whatever you want to believe, this has been a pretty good world for us, a pretty good home. And despite the fact how far we've advanced as a society, domesticating cats and dogs and even horses, and all of our technology, thinking we're so knowledgeable and holier than thou, there are times when Mother Nature can remind us that we are still very much capable of being backhanded to the Stone Age and humbled. I mean, for example, with nature itself, like Mother Nature, like we have sunshine, which is obviously quite important to us, including rain. We need rain for fresh water because we can't drink salt water. And rain does a good job of filling those things that I talked about a moment ago, like ponds and bayous, streams, swamps, lakes, oceans. It's all part of a cycle. But along with the rain can come thunderstorms, as well as lightning, which is quite dangerous. Then hail. Hail is also a form of water that hardens, from hail to snow to blizzards to tornadoes, hurricanes, tropical storms, flooding, even the opposite of rain, drought, earthquakes, and volcanoes. All these things is nature's way of reminding us that we're not in control. We have this illusion of control, just like they talked about in Jurassic Park. I'm a huge dinosaur fan. I love Jurassic Park, and I read the book before the movie came out, and also read Lost World before the movie came out. And incidentally, I've been watching some Jurassic Park videos on YouTube. I've been binging some YouTube Jurassic Park channels. Side issue. Dinosaurs are real. I'm sure some of you are wanting me to say that. Okay, yes, dinosaurs are most definitely real. Or they were once. But at the same time, our control over this world and the electricity that lights our homes is... and the fossil fuels, everything that we have that makes us, that gives us comfort, right? The ability to have internet, for me to, record this vlog. The technology was made by humans, over trial and error, many generations and many geniuses making this and that along the way. But at the same time, nature is fully capable of taking it away from us, whether through a storm, lightning, hurricanes, earthquakes, volcanoes, blizzards, storms, knocking out the power. And once the power's out, Then you're like left a few centuries in the past before we had electricity. Okay, so you have some candles, you have some batteries. But eventually the batteries run out. Eventually the fuel runs out. Eventually the generators stop working. I mean, yeah, okay. We have technology. And it has ensured our place on the planet. But we won't have a planet, we won't have a world if we don't do a better job taking care of it and preserving it and protecting it and righting our wrongs. And it's not just to preserve life for all the fellow inhabitants of our world, all the other animals, from cows to dolphins, whales, sharks, fish, krill, everything on the planet, to ensure that they survive. It's also to ensure our survival as a species, because we're part of this world. We're part of nature, for better or worse. And throughout most of human history, we haven't exactly done a good job when it comes to our relationship with nature. But we do have the means to learn from the past, to learn from our mistakes, in the hopes of doing better for future generations. Not just human generations, but generations of animal life and birds and sea life and plant life. Because if we continue to go down this road of mining to our heart's content, of deforesting and hunting animals, poaching them for their ivory, and hunting and killing at our leisure, eventually, I mean, there is only a finite amount of wildlife and plant life. And eventually it could get to the point where there's not enough cows, there's not enough chickens, there's not enough corn or grain or other materials that we need to survive or exist on to keep going. And eventually we could see a serious collapse, not just in other species, but in ourselves. I mean, prime example, the bees. Like, I have a friend that's really into bees now. He's becoming a bee master. And that's something that has been seriously overlooked for a long time. Realizing that an animal, an insect like a bee is quite important. I mean, yes, bees can sting you, and some bees are more aggressive than others, like the killer bees, aka Africanized bees. But at the same time, bees and also wasps, and I believe even mosquitoes, are pollinators. Even though most people don't really care for mosquitoes, myself included, because they carry diseases and they suck your blood. But I think that mosquitoes even are pollinators. And we kind of sort of need the pollinators to pollinate plants, because it's part of the chain, right? If the bees go, then how do plants get pollinated? How does food grow for us to harvest and for animals to eat and for us to consume? And then animals start to die off, and then we start to die off. It's all, a set of dominoes. And if one domino gets pushed over, like the bees, for example, they get pushed over. If the bees are wiped out, then it causes a domino effect. Then, plants start going. Then animals start going. Then we start going. And there are definitely those out there, like my friend and many others, that are mindful of this and are doing their part to try and help not only save the bee population, but to help regrow it. So that's definitely vital for our survival. So we are becoming a lot more mindful as a species as we learn and evolve. And we still have a long ways to go. We still have a lot to learn. Probably more mistakes to make. But once we realize how important nature is in all of its aspects, all of its facets, from the grass to bushes to trees to the insects, the worms, the bees, the ants, all the way to even like rats and rabbits and various types of birds, whether it's like blue jays or cardinals, deer, hawks, other birds of prey like eagles, owls, falcons, and like even in the ocean with krill, plankton, whales, and like saltwater fish, freshwater fish, sharks, dolphins, killer whales. All of it's important for our existence. You know, whether it's scary things like sharks or spiders or scorpions, ants, lions, tigers, bears, oh my, or wolves or snakes. It's all important because it all connects together. It's all part of the circle of life. And yes, I know Lion King's coming out this week. Well, the remake of Lion King, which hasn't really gotten that many good reviews, to be honest. I mean, to be honest, there's only one real Lion King, and it's the OG Lion King from the 90s, which was actually a ripoff of, what was it called? Kimba originally, and then Disney ripped it off and changed the lion's name from Kimba to Simba. I know, we're getting off subject. I do apologize. But yes, nature's beautiful. It's breathtaking. Yes, I do that in there as well. According to Keanu Reeves, it's breathtaking. It's also can be fragile, and it can be dangerous. And it's something we need to do a better job of taking care of. And yeah, it's important to look at nature and admire its beauty and splendor and understand our place in it. Because I think we do as a species. We do have a place. And like I said earlier, I don't want to make this like negative. I don't want to be anti-human. But we must recognize the mistakes we made and learn from those mistakes and do better. But at the same time, accept that we are part of nature. We're part of this planet, that we're part of this world. And as stewards and protectors of this world, we most definitely have to do a better job. And we also have to appreciate it in all its facets. You know, from sea to shiny sea, from the mountains and the valleys and the hills, the beaches, the plateaus, the deserts even, the mountains, the woods, the plains, the prairies. It's all important. It all matters. It all connects together. And it's something that we have to respect. It's something we have to fear. It's something we have to admire. And hopefully going forward, we will continue to endeavor to do a better job in taking care of, preserving, as well as saving nature. Because without nature, without our planet, without all the species that I've mentioned, we wouldn't be here.